Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over tropical storms Gamma and Delta. Both of them are now eyeing up the Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama Gulf Coast. We're going to be looking at how intense these storms could be and also where exactly they will be tracking. We're going to look at the National Hurricane Center's forecast as well as some of the model guidance for this storm, so make sure you are staying tuned all the way until the end of the video. Also, I am currently working on my winter forecast, my fourth one if I'm not mistaken, and I will be releasing that on the 10th. So within just about 4 or 5 days, I'll be releasing my next winter forecast. So make sure you are subscribed and you have your notifications on so you don't miss it when I do upload that. So let's go right into the video here, and let's start off with your current National Weather Service page. We have red flag warnings in effect for parts of Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado, Wyoming, and Utah, as well as a little bit of New Mexico there. We also have some air quality alerts in effect for parts of central and southern California, as well as some dense fog advisories in effect for parts of western Ohio there, and some wind advisories for parts of Montana. Other than that, there's not a lot of watches and warnings. Don't be surprised if you get some freeze warnings and frost advisories move through parts of the Ohio Valley and the interior northeast. But today, because that's where the core of the cold air will be situated by today. So I'll also be updating you guys on my community tab about those frost warnings and freeze warnings and frost advisories. So make sure you are checking the community tab because I frequently post on there. Now, here is the 5-day graphical outlook from the National Hurricane Center. Nothing out in the eastern part of the Atlantic or even the central Atlantic. Everything is focused over parts of the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, where we have Gamma and Delta lined right up behind each other. We have both of these storms making a track right like this. We're going to have these storms making landfall potentially within 2 or 3 days of each other, so this could definitely be a very major situation that we have to keep our eye on. Delta currently southwest of Jamaica, while Gamma is north of the Yucatan Peninsula. Here is currently what Tropical Storm Gamma looks like on the infrared satellite. We're looking at mostly convection north of the storm. We have a low-level center that's right around here with an upper-level low center that's right around here. So the shear from the southwest has really teared this storm apart, especially on the western side of this and also on the southern side of this, where you really don't see any convection with this storm. So we have separated low pressures. We have one that's up in the lower atmosphere and then one that's higher up in the upper atmosphere. So that's really causing the storm to not be able to develop too well. But as it starts to move to the south and to the west, it will start developing a little bit better, and most likely those two low pressures will come closer to each other, and you'll get most likely a well-defined storm. So here is currently where this storm is located at 22.3 degrees north by 87.6 degrees west, just north of the Yucatan Peninsula. Currently has maximum sustained winds of about 45 miles per hour, moving south-southwest at about 2 miles per hour. Now, here is the key messages for the storm. You can pause the video right here and read them if you are interested in it. Here is the National Hurricane Center cone of uncertainty. We're looking at this staying as a tropical storm for the next about 24 to 48 hours before weakening to a tropical depression and then making a northward trek and potentially moving into parts of Louisiana and the Gulf Coast later on in its lifespan. This is only the 3-day forecast from the National Hurricane Center because of how uncertain this forecast is. Now, here would be the model track guidance for the storm, and it is very confusing, especially as you get further to the south, but then it really starts to clear up once you get further north on this graphic right here. You can see that the models really want to bring this up into parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama probably within the next 5 days. So expect a landfall, most likely, if today's Monday, most likely right around Friday, Saturday, maybe into early on Sunday, and I'll be tracking that even closer with you guys on my YouTube channel, so make sure you are subscribed. Now, here is the tropical storm force winds probabilities, and we're looking at both Gamma and Delta's wind fields combining here, so it's a little bit confusing, but for parts of southern Louisiana, we are looking at most likely right around the 70 to 80% chance of that occurring. Now, here is the hurricane force wind speeds, and this is mainly, again, from Delta, but we have right around a 20 to 30% chance of that over extreme southern Louisiana. Now, here's the model intensity guidance from the storm, and it looks like it will weaken, especially as it heads into an area of greater cheer, before strengthening again as it starts to move over the open Gulf waters, and then most likely it'll kind of stabilize, increase slightly before making landfall, and then it'll most likely dip back down down again. So here is the current aircraft recon for this storm. We're looking at the surface winds on the right here, and we're looking at the flight level winds overlaid on top of the satellite imagery on the left. So you can see the flight level winds right around tropical storm force, and we're also seeing some patchy areas in the greens where you're also seeing some tropical storm force winds at flight level. So it's not exactly the strongest storm, but it is definitely at tropical storm force, and you can definitely tell that there is some sort of convection and spin up within this storm, although it is very light. Now, here is currently what Delta looks like on the infrared satellite. It's currently southwest of Jamaica by a few hundred miles. Now, here is where this is located. It's currently at 16.4 degrees north by about 78.6 degrees west. Maximum sustained winds of about 45 miles per hour, moving west at 7 miles per hour. So still slow, but it is moving faster than Gamma is definitely. Now, here's the key messages for the storm, and you can pause the video right here and read them if you are interested in them. Now, here is the National Hurricane Center forecast for the storm, and we're looking at this strengthening potentially into a hurricane as early as tomorrow night, and then most likely retaining hurricane strength, maybe weakening slightly before making landfall, and then as it makes landfall, most likely as a Category 2 or Category 1, then we will most likely see this again weaken into a tropical storm as it moves over central Alabama and central Mississippi there. And that would be your landfall most likely right around Friday, Saturday time frame when you'll be feeling the greatest impacts of that along the Gulf Coast. Now, here's the model track guidance, and look how tightly packed up these models are. Most of them are within, I would say, a 25 to 50 mile radius of each other, and most of them are bringing this northwestward into parts of the central Gulf of Mexico, and then bringing this into parts of Louisiana or Mississippi, and then bringing this back out into the Atlantic, maybe forms again into a subtropical system offshore. So that's generally the track. I'll be coming up with my own hurricane graphics probably by tomorrow or the day after, depending on what I upload tomorrow, whether I upload on the cold air tomorrow or I upload on these two storms. Now, here is the GFS ensemble models, the American ensemble models, and we're looking at fairly pretty much the same thing. We have a little bit more models in the GFS ensemble models, and they have a bit of a wider spread, but still a general track into Louisiana looks likely, and then somewhere off the southeast or northeast coast where Delta would most likely come off again. Now, here is the tropical storm force winds probability. It's pretty much the same graphic because both of them have merged together by this point, and we're looking at 70 to 80% chance, maybe 60 to 70% chance as we move a little bit more inland of tropical storm force winds. And then here's your chances of hurricane force winds, and we're looking at right around a 20 to 30, maybe a 10 to 20% chance again as you move a little bit more inland of seeing hurricane force winds. And don't be surprised if this actually ramps up because most of the models have this either as a Category 2 or maybe even a major hurricane. Now, here's the model intensity guidance. All of the models have this at least getting to a high end tropical storm, and then some of the models even bring this to a Category 1, maybe a Category 2, and a couple of these models even bring this to a Category 3, 4 model, Category 3, 4 storm, and then it dips back down as it starts to make landfall and as it starts to approach Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, wherever it were to make landfall. Now, here is the sea surface temperatures, and this is going to be important for the development of this storm. Now, we do have strong shear over parts of the western Gulf of Mexico over the next few days, but that'll be going away and shifting a little bit further to the north as as Delta is approaching. So shear will not be an issue. What really is going to slow down the storm, especially as it heads towards the Gulf Coast, and why it will most likely weaken even before it's made landfall, is because of these very cold temperatures that you guys have been experiencing over much of the eastern United States over the past few weeks, where if you've been following me on my channel, I've been talking about that quite a bit, of this very cold air that's going to be moving into the east, and that has been cooling down these waters off the shore of the Gulf of Mexico, and it won't really be able to upwell warm water. Usually, if you have warmer water, let's say a few hundred feet down or a few hundred yards down in the ocean, that storm can still rise that back up to the surface and use that for fuel. You don't have that over parts of the Gulf of Mexico. Lower down in the ocean, it is quite cold for these storms, so it won't be able to upwell any warmer water. It will still be able to handle a storm until it hits right around the immediate Gulf Coast, where portions of the northern and central Gulf Coast are right around 24 Celsius, which is below the threshold that you usually want for favorable development. But still, for the rest of the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean has not really had one big storm. So this is really untapped potential over here. So this is currently where Delta is. And then if you look at the projected track, which is something like this, it definitely has quite a bit of warm waters all the way until it hits about parallel of central Florida. That's when the waters start to really cool down. Now, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.